Hey everyone, it's me, Lone. Hope you're doing all right. Let's finally talk about some new information when it comes to Starfield. It's just so hard to get news when it comes to this game in Bethesda. I know you're secretive, all right? You don't like to show too much until it's ready. I get that, and the game has already been delayed. You want to make sure that it's perfect. It's coming out next year. I understand, but just throw us a bone, please. Tell us something. Tell us something about the story. I'll take that. Maybe a side quest, a sneaky side quest. Heck, I will take the name of a single planet out of those 1,000 plus planets that are going to feature in the game. Just tell me that and I'll stop bothering you for about a week, okay? Ball's in your court. I'll come back after that. If you don't want to share that with me, fine, whatever. I'll keep speculating and saying shit on my channel. But until then, Mr. Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, has actually shared some interesting information when it comes to Starfield. Specifically, he's went into a little bit of detail as to the decision-making process behind delaying the game. Of course, we know Starfield was meant to come out this month. It was meant to come out on the 11th of November. And that was very recently, and people actually got kind of annoyed that Bethesda didn't really say anything or do anything with Starfield on that date, to kind of at least recognize it was meant to be today. We're sorry. Here's a little bit of more information. Actually, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I actually think on that day, they retweeted something about Skyrim. Of all things that you could have done, Bethesda, you retweeted Skyrim. It's fine. It's fine. Phil Spencer, he has something to say. Recently, he was interviewed by The Verge, specifically by Nilay Patel of The Verge, who asked some really difficult questions of Phil. I encourage you to read the full article, linked in the description below. But of course, we're here to talk about Starfield and some of the commentary that was made about the game. So let's get into it. Heck, if you enjoy this video, please like it. I would really appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new. The channel's doing really well at the moment. Let's keep this momentum going by reading this article from The Verge. So, Nilay Patel asked Phil Spencer the following question. There is a tension there that I really want to pull on. Starting off with the hard questions, let's do it. In the entertainment business, you said it's want to do, not have to do. The games industry, the entertainment industry is moving from being this hits-driven business where every product lives or dies and makes millions of dollars or doesn't, to these recurring revenue models of subscription. We have obviously seen it with television and we have definitely seen it with music. The last time you and I spoke, we talked about game streaming and game subscriptions a lot. That is in a very middle state. It hasn't happened yet and you are now facing down the holiday quarter. You just made some big decisions. You delayed some big games that were supposed to come out for the holiday, Starfield and Redfall, of course. Those would have been the hits. Talk through making that decision to delay the hits we get. Then I want to talk about this shift in the industry from being an all hits all the time model to this more recurring revenue subscription model. Really hard question. I love the way this was worded. So this is what Phil had to say in response. I think positioning it as a decision might be slightly wrong. At least for me, it isn't really a decision to move a game after spending the team's effort over multiple years just to get to a point where you know you're not going to deliver the game that you want on the day that was promised. Now, it is at some level because I've shipped games too early. We have experienced shipping games too early. In hindsight, when you look at a game like Starfield, it's taken so long and so much investment in new IP from the team. The decision to give the team time to build the game that they feel they should be building is just the right thing to do. There are financial implications to those decisions, weighing what is going to happen, whether it's platform growth, subscriber growth, or frankly, the revenue that you generate when a new game launches. Those are business decisions. You definitely have to weigh the outcome of those decisions. For any game, but definitely for our games Starfield and Redfall, which are our first big Xbox games with ZeniMax coming into the team, I just wanted to make sure that those teams felt they had all the support they can get from Xbox and to maybe feel some of the benefit of being part of a larger organization that has other revenue streams and other helpful things going on. In the end, I believe the quality of the games will be better and customers will find the experience to be more interesting, which will hopefully feel like the right decision in hindsight. Now, Nilay asked a second question, a follow-up question by saying, walk me through how the decision was made. Did those teams come to you? Did you look at the work? How long did it take to make that decision? Phil says in response, this is maybe where some of my experience in the industry comes to play. I know both Todd and Harvey well, and we had a discussion about where those games are. I'll focus on Starfield with Todd. He and I have an honest discussion going on, starting from the day the deal closed on the purchase of ZeniMax. Quote, where are we with the game? What are the risks we see? We have some internal teams at Xbox, like our Advanced Technology Group ATG, which we can deploy to help teams look at where they are with tech challenges and production challenges. As somebody who has seen a few county fairs here, I might get some gut instinct about where we are, just by the way teams are talking about their game and where we are in playing builds. One of the things I've learned is that you want teams to feel like they own their dates. They deliver better when they feel like they own their own destiny with their games, so you wait for the real signal from the creative and production teams. It's an ongoing discussion about where we are. It's not all like one day, all of a sudden, somebody comes in and says, okay, our data is going to have to move. We track and understand the weighted risk on everything that is going on. It's a fundamental part of the job that Matt Booty and Jamie Leader do in running our first party studio organizations. Alrighty, so what are my thoughts when it comes to this? Again, there were some hard questions in there for Phil. I think he handled them pretty well, but let's share my thoughts. First of all, of course it was the right decision. You know that, I know that, Phil knows that. Everyone knows that it was the correct call to delay Starfield. If the game was not going to come out in good state and just be a repeat of Fallout 76, it would be like irreparable harm for Bethesda and their reputation, all right? If you don't already think that happened with Fallout 76, it certainly would have happened with Starfield if it was in a bad state at launch. We all know that it was the correct decision. And Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, now, in control of Bethesda, he's not going to come out and say, yeah, we messed up. We should have released the game. Like, we didn't really have many games this year. We should have done it. That was our bad. Like, he wasn't going to say that, all right? So clearly, it was an obvious thing that he said. But I really liked that he went into detail about the decision-making process behind delaying the game. He talked a bit about the business and the finances behind it. It is a huge decision, a massive decision to delay a game. Because even when you look at, just take, in isolation, Bethesda Game Studios. You delay the release of Starfield, right? Let's say you delay it by 6 months. That is 6 months worth of salaries, of contractor fees, of so many different expenses that you have now just incurred as part of the budget for a video game, okay? That is now taking away from your profit. It is now taking away from your margin. That is the reality, right? And then all it's doing is it's pushing those teams that could have maybe jumped onto working on Elder Scrolls 6 a little bit earlier. Now that's delayed even further because they need to keep working on Starfield to make sure the game is right at launch. These decisions cost companies literally millions, potentially tens of millions of dollars, depending upon how long those delays are. So this is not a decision that comes lightly. And it's not even just in that regard as well, but of course, as I alluded to before, look at this year when it comes to Xbox. They didn't have that many big releases. And Phil has himself acknowledged that publicly. So delaying it, even for that reason, is hurting their bottom line. It's also hurting Game Pass because these are meant to be first, day one games on Game Pass. When you don't have Starfield coming out, when you don't have Redfall coming out, when you're going into a holiday period, when yes, you're still trying to sell Xboxes, Series X and Series X, it costs them so much money. I don't even want to think. And I'm sure that they've crunched the numbers. They would have had to if they were like, yeah, if we delay by this long, here's how much we're probably going to lose. Both Bethesda Game Studios and Xbox would have had to have run that. Like, it would have cost them so much money, I don't even want to know how much. I'm thinking it's like millions of dollars, okay? So I'm really glad that he mentioned that because it's something that I don't think we appreciate enough. It is the business side, it's the corporate side. Sometimes it feels a little bit cold, but it's cool that he went into that. It's also cool that, he talked about how he and Todd are talking about this stuff all the time. It started when, obviously, the deal to acquire ZeniMax closed, when they could actually start talking about these things, because if you remember, there was a period where Phil was like, look, we can't say anything about the deal. We need to make sure the acquisition closes, all the regulatory stuff is passed through, and then we can actually start working with Bethesda on this stuff. So those conversations started then. I like that he has this ongoing dialogue with someone like Todd to see where they are, to see how they can help. We have resources that we can share with you. We have this team that can help out. Whether or not that actually happened with Starfield, who knows? I suspect that Todd was like, nah, Phil, we got this. We just need a little bit more time. That's all. So it's cool to see that Phil is actually, offering them a hand, providing those resources. This is literally one of the biggest reasons why Bethesda was acquired. It's because of all these resources at hand. Like the amount of money that they now have backing them, the amount of teams and people and tools that they have backing them is just immense. And this is all meant to translate into creating bigger and better games for Bethesda Game Studios. So it's cool to see some of that teased out by the head of Xbox himself, to see how, Phil say, we have this cool team that can actually help you get through a lot of these tech issues. I don't deny that. I guess one of the issues is offering up resources to one team and how that splits their efforts from working on other teams, you know what I mean? Like, I wonder how those decision-making processes take place. Yeah, you can help on Bethesda Game Studios, but crap, Obsidian needed help on this as well. Xbox is big, but they don't necessarily have infinite money. Like, we're not talking about Xbox can't just dip in Microsoft's pool of overall money. They need approval for stuff like this, okay? So I'm interested to see how that is a little bit teased out, especially with Xbox generally being on the behind with creating their first-party IP, with actually getting games out of the door. I suspect we're going to see a bunch of stuff come next year, but this year it's been slow, so how has Phil been able to make those decisions in terms of like which team has priority to get a game out the door? Very, very interesting stuff. He also talked about Redfall a little bit too, not too much. This was mostly about Starfield. And it was interesting that he said, like, you know, Redfall was a hit game. Obviously, Starfield is the main focus here. As I talked about in another video, it seems like Xbox hasn't truly embraced Redfall as a massive first-party IP like they have with Starfield. Like, when that trailer was released for Redfall and Xbox didn't tweet about it for like 5 hours, and it wasn't even the full version of the trailer. I would like to see, personally for me, I would like to see Phil, in interviews like that, in situations like that, talk a bit more about Redfall. Talk about your conversations when it comes to talking to Harvey, because Nilay Patel from The Verge didn't just ask about Starfield. He brought up both games. So I would have liked to have seen a bit more information and a bit more context when it came to him talking to Harvey about Redfall, because I see potential in that game. I don't think it's going to be this amazing game that blows everyone's socks, away. But I still think it has potential. From some of the leaks, from some of the rumors, it seems like Redfall is also coming out before Starfield 2. If I can find that article, I'll link it in the description below. I believe it was from Inside Gamer. But that's going to be the first game out of the block. It's interesting if you think about it. This is going to be Redfall. It's going to be the actual first party IP from ZeniMax post-acquisition. This is going to be this is going to be the game a lot of people will judge ZeniMax on. Of course, Starfield is going to be coming soon after that, but it's important. It's just as important, in my opinion, that they get Redfall right. Because if Redfall's not right, I think you do, even more so than what's already happened now, further erode that trust from Xbox in its ability to deliver amazing first-party titles, right? Because if Redfall's not good, then everything relies on Starfield, and if Starfield has any kind of misstep, then it's a bad thing for Xbox. It's a bad thing for Bethesda Game Studios. So, TLDR, I would like to see a little bit more love when it comes to Redfall 2. But this was just interesting. Let me know your thoughts. I know this was a rambly video. I don't care. I love talking about this stuff. I love industry stuff, okay? This stuff gets me excited. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And until next time, this has been Lone. Please take care of yourselves. And would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.